In the fall of 1964, inside a small rented gym on Broadway in Oakland, California, a Golden Gloves boxer named Harlan Hank Galen, 6 feet even, 185 pounds of ring-hardened muscle, leaned against the ropes and said the words that still echo in hushed conversations among old-timers. Kicks lose every time. Real fighting happens with fists, not feet. Bruce Lee, 5 feet 7, 140 pounds after a heavy meal, had been demonstrating footwork to a handful of students when Galen interrupted. The boxer had come to watch, skeptical, arms crossed, a smirk already forming. 4 seconds later, the gym fell into a silence so complete you could hear the fluorescent lights humming overhead. This is that story. By late 1964, Bruce had opened his second school in the Bay Area after starting in Seattle. He was blending Wing Chun precision with Western boxing footwork, fencing theory, and whatever else he could test in private sessions. Students talked about his speed, the way he could intercept a punch before it fully extended. He had already faced down challengers in Hong Kong rooftops as a teenager and won a boxing match against an English champion while still in high school. But in America, especially among boxers who trained for 3-minute rounds under lights, his approach looked flashy, impractical. Galen was one of those men, a local amateur standout with a record of 22 wins, 4 losses. He had knocked out opponents with heavy hooks and believed legs were for standing, not striking. The gym that afternoon held maybe 15 people, Bruce's core students, a couple of curious visitors from nearby dojos, and Galen, who had heard rumors and decided to see for himself. No crowd, no bets, no referee, just mats on concrete, a heavy bag in the corner, and the faint smell of liniment and sweat. Bruce was in the middle of explaining sidestep pivots when Galen spoke up. He stepped onto the mat without asking. "Show me," he said. "Hit me with one of those kicks you love so much. See if it works against someone who actually fights." Tension settled like dust after a bell. Students moved back, forming a rough circle about 10 feet across. Bruce paused, studied the boxer's stance, weight forward, hands high, chin tucked. He nodded once. No gloves, no shoes. Just the agreement. First clean contact ends it, or someone says stop. Galen bounced lightly, shoulders loose, eyes locked on Bruce's face. He expected a show, some theatrical spin or high kick he could slip under. Bruce stood relaxed, feet shoulder width, hands low, breathing even. The distance, 7 feet. Galen closed half of it with a shuffle step, testing. Time fractured. Galen jabbed, sharp, crisp, aimed at the nose. Bruce slipped it by leaning his torso back an inch, the fist grazing air near his cheek. Galen followed with a left hook, heavier, looping toward the temple. Bruce ducked under, body low, then exploded upward. His right leg chambered at the knee in a fraction of a second. The foot shot out straight, not high, not flashy, targeting the boxer's lead thigh just above the knee. The impact sounded like a baseball bat hitting a heavy bag, a dull, meaty crack. Galen's leg buckled sideways. His weight shifted hard onto the back foot. He hissed through clenched teeth. But Bruce was already moving. He stepped in with the rebounding leg, hips twisting again. His left fist snapped forward in a straight lead, knuckles driving into Galen's solar plexus. Air rushed out of the boxer in a sharp wheeze. Galen doubled forward instinctively. Bruce pivoted on his planted foot, right leg whipping low once more. This time a sweeping hook kick to the same thigh, catching the perineal nerve. 4 seconds. Galen's leg gave completely. He dropped to one knee, hand slapping the mat for balance. His face contorted. Shock more than pain at first. The room held its breath. No cheers, no shouts. Just the soft thud of his palm on canvas and the sudden absence of movement. Galen stayed down a long moment. He looked up, eyes wide, breathing ragged. Bruce stepped back 2 paces, hands dropping, expression neutral. He offered no taunt, no lecture, just waited. One student later recalled the quiet stretching longer than it should have. Another said Galen's face shifted from anger to something quieter, realization settling in layers. According to private notes passed among early students, Galen finally pushed himself up using the ropes. His left leg dragged slightly as he tested weight on it. He nodded once, slow, deliberate, then limped toward the door without another word. The silence lingered after he left. People spoke in fragments for days afterward. Some claimed Galen had underestimated the low-line attack. Others pointed out he never got to throw his power punches. A few whispered that Bruce had targeted nerves deliberately, using anatomy he studied from books and dissections. No one filmed it. No newspaper mentioned it. The gym cleared out quietly that evening, and the story stayed inside those walls for years. Yet pieces surfaced later. In a 1970 conversation with a close associate, Bruce referenced a boxer who learned legs matter without naming names. Galen, who continued competing locally into the late 60s, rarely spoke of the incident. When he did, in a bar years later to a trusted friend, he described it simply, "He hit spots I didn't know could hurt like that. Fast. Too fast." Skeptics emerged over time. Some said the encounter lasted longer, maybe 8 or 10 seconds, and that Galen landed a glancing shot. Others argued low kicks were common knowledge in boxing gyms by then, nothing revolutionary. A few dismissed the whole thing as post-fame exaggeration, noting no medical record existed of injury, but those present held firm on the details. One student, in a taped recollection from the 1990s, broke it down clinically. The first kick traveled maybe 18 inches, but the torque came from the hip turn. Force concentrated on a small area, maybe 2 square inches. Galen's quadriceps seized. The second kick caught the nerve bundle on the outside. His leg shut down like a switch. Bruce's training logs from that period show extra emphasis on leg power, hundreds of kicks daily against pads, focus on speed over height. He had dissected boxing matches on film, noting how fighters protected the body but left legs exposed. Galen's doubt had been common then. Kicks were showy, easily caught, useless against trained hands. After that afternoon, Bruce incorporated more low-line work into classes. He stressed interception, meeting force before it built. Students noticed he moved differently around taller opponents, angling to cut off base. Galen faded from the local scene eventually. He took up coaching, teaching fundamentals to kids. In one rare interview in the early 80s, asked about old challenges, he paused long before answering. "Some things you learn the hard way," he said. "That day, I learned quick." The gym on Broadway closed years ago. The building houses offices now. Most witnesses have passed on. Still, the story drifts through martial arts circles, told quietly, like something fragile. A faded entry in an old training diary. A line in a letter Bruce sent to a friend in 1965. "A man came to test. He left understanding." Decades later, fighters in MMA echo the lesson without knowing its origin. Low kicks crumple guards. Legs carry the fight as much as hands. Bruce proved it not with words, but with 4 measured seconds. What unsettled those who saw it wasn't the speed alone. It was the precision, the way doubt vanished in the space between breaths. In the end, it returns to that impossible instant. A boxer who swore kicks met proof that refused argument. 4 seconds of contact, a lifetime of reconsideration. That silence, it still hangs in the air for those who listen closely.